In a new episode, Revision 7, let's discuss money. What is money? Anything commonly accepted as a medium of exchange in an economy is called as money. So these are some of the definitions that we need to learn over here in this chapter. Money supply. This usually comes for 1 mark. What is money supply? It's the total quantity of money in circulation in an economy. Since we talk about this at a particular point of time, it is a stock variable. Okay, this is for 1 mark. Now, barter system also comes sometimes as a 3 mark question. What is a barter system? It is the exchange of goods without the mediation of money. It's also called the CC exchange or the commodity exchange. Now, it has certain drawbacks. What are the drawbacks? It lacks the double coincidence of wants. Double coincidence of wants means that if there are 2 people, then 2 people should be able to satisfy each other's wants. If that doesn't coincide, then this barter system fails. The second one is lack of a common unit of value. Like today we have rupee. In the barter system, that is lacking. Okay, so rupee solves the problem of the common unit of value. Third one is difficulty of storage of value. Certain goods like the perishable ones, rice, wheat and all cannot be stored for a longer period of time. So if there is money, then that can be stored for a longer period of time. The fourth one is standard of deferred payment. Standard of deferred payment refers at a payment that will be made at a later point of time. So if it is a commodity exchange, certain goods cannot be paid at a later point of time. So the barter system also fails over here. Now the next important thing is the components of money supply. Now when we learnt money supply over here, we said it is the total quantity of money in circulation. So how is this money in circulation? This money is in circulation in terms of currency, in terms of deposits, right? So the 2 components of money supply would be the currency held by the public, which is the currency notes as well as the coins. These currency notes are issued by the Reserve Bank of India and the coins are issued by the Government of India. The currency that is held by public in the form of currency notes and coins is also called as high-powered money. Then, it is also called fiat money because the currency has a promise by the RBI that the RBI will be responsible for giving the person purchasing power equal to the value printed on the note. Then, it's a legal tender. Currency notes and coins are called as legal tenders as they cannot be refused by any citizen of the country for settlement of any transaction. The other component is the net demand deposits held by the commercial banks. Now, these demand deposits are current account deposits as well as the saving accounts deposits. So, demand deposits are the sum of current account deposits as well as the savings account deposits. This is also called as bank money. Okay. Now, the deposits with fixed period of maturity, like the fixed deposits, are called as time deposits. Why? Because they are fixed for a certain time period in the banks. Therefore, the currency and the demand deposits is called as the M1 money. The currency held by the public and the demand deposits in the commercial banks is called as the M1 money. The M1 money, that is currency and demand deposits, along with the savings deposits with the post office banks. We also save in the post office banks now. So, savings in the post office banks together make up the M2 money. Now, these two, M1 and M2, are more liquid and are called as narrow money. The M3 money is the currency, demand deposits and the net time deposits of the banks. Okay, so this is M3 money. This is less liquid. And M4 money is this M3. That means currencies, net time deposits of the banks as well as the total deposits with the post office savings organizations. This is called as M4 money. This is the least liquid. M3 and M4 together form the broad money. This M4, where we are talking about the M3 and the total deposits with post office savings banks, it excludes the NSCs, that is National Savings Certificates. Why we exclude NSCs or National Savings Certificates is these are long-term deposits, 5 years and more than 5 years. So we don't include them under M4. Okay. Now why are we calling this as net demand deposits is because the interbank deposits are not included in the money supply. Only the demand deposits of the public with the commercial banks are included and interbank deposits are not included. That is why this is called as the net demand deposits. Right? Now what actually happens is the households deposit their money in the banks, the commercial banks, for which the banks pay some interest to the households. Now what happens to the deposits that are collected by the banks or that are deposited in the banks? They are given as loans to the other firms or other households. We also take loans, no? Then to the government also. These people, they pay a rate of interest to the banks. The rate of interest that is paid by the firms, households and government to the banks is greater than the interest that is offered by the banks to the households on their deposits. This difference between the interests is called as spread. It is called as spread. Okay. Now, as the loans given by the banks increases, if the loans increase, then what happens? There will be an increase in the money supply in the economy. So, what's very important over here to note, there's a 1-mark question. Increase in loans by the banks increases money supply in the economy. Right? And the difference between the interest paid by the firms to the banks and banks to the households is called as spread. So, these are the 1-mark questions over here. Okay, so the loans increase the money supply in the market or in the economy. Now, when these banks give loans, they create money. The banks create money by giving loans to the, let's understand how. Money creation by commercial banks. To understand this, we need to understand 2 more things over here. 1, the legal reserve ratio. This is the minimum deposits or reserves which a bank must maintain with itself. Okay. Now, what is this? This legal reserve ratio is or has 2 components. One, the cash reserve ratio, and the other is statutory liquidity ratio. Cash reserve ratio is something that the commercial banks must deposit with the central bank, and statutory liquidity ratio is that ratio or that fraction of the deposits which the banks must keep with themselves. How do we remember this? C and R, CRR and SLR. C for central bank, S for themselves. So you can remember it with the first letter, C with central bank. Okay, so one we know, the other is easier. So this legal reserve ratio is a sum of both the cash reserve ratio as well as the statutory liquidity ratio. Now the total credit creation will be equal to the initial deposits with the commercial banks multiplied by the inverse of the legal reserve ratio, that is 1 by LRR. Okay. Now this LRR is decided by the RBI, Reserve Bank of India. Now what happens when there is a change in the LRR? If the LRR is 20% and let's say the initial deposits is 1000 rupees, then what will happen to the credit creation? By formula, initial deposit is 1000, 1 by LRR is 1 by 20%. So when you solve this, you get 5000. So for an initial deposit of 1000 rupees, the credit that is created is 5000 rupees. Now if the LRR increases to 25%, from 20 to 25%, then the credit creation will be given by 1000 into 1 by 25%. You solve this, you will get 4000. So what happened when the LRR increased to 25? The credit creation, the credit created by the commercial banks reduced. Okay. So an increase in the LRR reduces the credit creation by the commercial banks. Then if the LRR is reduced to 10%, then the credit created would be 1000 into 1 by 10%. So this, when you solve, you get 10,000. So it is increased 10 times. So what happens when the LRR is reduced? The credit creation capacity of the commercial banks increases. So this is very important for us. Any decrease in the LRR would increase the credit creation ability of the banks, and increase in the LRR would reduce it. Okay. Now since this 1 by LRR is giving us how many times the initial deposit increases, this will be called as money multiplier. Okay. So the money multiplier is equal to 1 by LRR. Now look at this. This is an inverse relationship. LRR and money multiplier are inversely related. So as the LRR increases, money multiplier reduces, and as the LRR reduces, money multiplier increases. So these are inversely proportional to each other. Now let's see how the credit is created by the commercial banks. So credit creation by commercial banks. Now let us assume that the initial deposits with the commercial banks is 10,000 rupees, and the legal reserve ratio is given to us as 20%. This is generally this is how it is asked. Okay, so let's understand this. Now this 10,000 rupees that we are talking about as the initial deposits is called as the primary deposit. So under round 1, let us say the primary deposits is 10,000 rupees. Okay, what is this primary deposit? It's the cash deposits with the commercial banks made by the people. Okay. Now what else we know? We know the legal reserve ratio, which is 20%. That means 20% the banks have to keep with themselves. So 20% of 10,000 rupees will be equal to 2,000 rupees. So 2,000 will be kept as reserves. 10,000 minus 2,000 is 8,000. Now what we need to understand over here is, if 20% is the reserve ratio, then 80% will be given as loans. This is very simple and straightforward. Okay, so we must understand this. So if 20% is the reserve, then 80% will be the loan. If 25% is the reserve, then 75% will be the loan. Right? Now, money multiplier we know 1 by LRR, isn't it? So this will be equal to 1 by 20%, which will be equal to 5. Okay, so the money should multiply 5 times. This is by definition, by formula we know it. Now let's also calculate this and see. In round 2, what happens is, now loan, how much is given? 8,000 is given. So 8,000 will be the next deposit because they have to return this money. Of this 8,000 deposit, again 80% is given as loan and 20% is kept as reserves. This 20% is 1,600. 8 2s are 16. Okay. Now 8,000 minus 1,600 gives us 6,400. That will be the loan. Now in the third round, what happens? This which has gone as loans, you can remember it like this. 6,400 which went as loans will be recovered as deposits. Now of this deposits, again 20% will be kept. So that 20% comes to 1,280. Okay. Now 6,400 minus 1,280 is 5,120. Okay. Now next, in the fourth round, what will happen? This 5,120 will come as deposits, and 80% will be loan, 20% will be reserve, and so it will go on. It will continue. How long will it continue? It will continue till the reserves that are with the bank reach 10,000. What is this 10,000? This 10,000 is the initial deposits with the banks. So this and this should become equal. If this is 10,000, then what should be this equal to? Now we learnt money multiplier is 5 times. So 5 into, what is the credit creation? It was initial deposits into the money multiplier, isn't it? So initial deposit is 10,000 into money multiplier is 5. So this becomes 50,000. So if this is 50,000, then 50,000 minus 10,000 gives us 40,000. So this will be the calculation. So this gives us the two basic functions of the commercial banks. One, that it accepts deposits, and second, that it gives loans. Those are the two important functions of the commercial banks.